Gettysburg, both the film and battle have captured our spirits. Something about this event resonates in our souls, and the film really strikes a chord with its sweeping reenactments. There are hundreds of men showing the formations, uniforms, and tactics of the day. They use as much powder as they can. The movie has a beautiful score, blockbusting performances,
And let no man forget today that you are from old Virginia!
and all the drama of a war which was brother against brother.
He's been hit. No. Not both of us. Not all of us.
While the film itself is well made and inspiring with its tales of valor and heroics, there is something deeper about this movie, something that brings together North and South, the War of the Rebellion and the War of Northern Aggression. Let's dive deeper and find out just what makes this film such a meaningful and powerful classic. Number 1. How we remember the Civil War. In his book, Race and Reunion, David Blight breaks down the ways Americans memorialize the Civil War into 3 major categories. There are some variations in gray areas, but in general, these major groups cover how we remember the war. Emancipationist. Movies like Glory or Lincoln are good examples of this group. These remembrances focus on the fact that although the war was not about freeing slaves in the beginning, it eventually took on that role after the Emancipation Proclamation. Themes of this style of remembrance are about liberty, equality, and the legacy of ending slavery. It paints the war as a war of freedom and a war to make America fulfill our core democratic values. This is a very Northern-style take, and always makes sure to make the causes and consequences of the war up front and center in how we remember. This is where you get the War of the Rebellion type rhetoric, and always focus on emancipation. The Lost Cause. This school of memorials argues that the Southern cause was, well, lost. It downplays the importance of slavery in the war, and argues that it was more about differences between the sections and states' rights. In Lost Cause memorials, the focus is on how the South was outnumbered, had less industrial capacity, and didn't have a chance to win. But they were brave for fighting for their beliefs, even though they were always destined to lose. Confederate memorials that make the conflict seem brave but hopeless, or movies that place blame on the North and downplay slavery fall into this category. Reconciliationist. This school of thought, unlike the other two, doesn't want to focus on why the war started or what it meant. This school tries to bring both sides together and focus on the bravery of the men on both sides and how Americans died fighting for their own causes. It argues that we should honor the men of North and South for their bravery and not for how just or unjust their cause was. In this version, we are reminded that the war was brother against brother, and we need to forget the causes and focus on healing and remembering. Part 2. Why Gettysburg Matters to People. From June 29th to July 4th of 1913, veterans from North and South gathered at Gettysburg to remember the conflict and honor the 50th anniversary of the fight. This event made an incredible impact on the American public and did a lot to start the healing process. Blight marks this event as the turning point where monuments, films, and art across the nation started moving towards reconciliation. One Michigan newspaper described the reunion by saying, "The reunion of the blue and the gray at Gettysburg was worth the cost and more. The few who had not learned that the war is over and that sectionalism and secession are buried forever, if they talk with the old boys in blue who have again returned from the battlefield, where they once more met the enemy and clasped hands in fraternal greeting with the men in gray, will soon be enlightened." To this editor, this event was one of healing and transformation. The paper implores the reader to let go of hatred, stating, "The vote for banishment of all remaining ill feeling on account of the Civil War was almost unanimous." Gettysburg is meant to be a testament to the future unity of the nation, with the paper stating, "After all this, shall we ever again in North or South hear a voice raised in anger or hatred against the people of another section, or endeavoring to stir up the old animosities of the 1860s? God forbid." Number 3. A film that heals. The film Gettysburg picks up where the reunion in 1913 leaves off. It goes out of its way to show both sides of the conflict and to give all parties a say. We have Thomas Chamberlain quickly summarizing why the Union fought.
Why are you fighting it? Want to free the slaves, of course. Preserve the Union.
This shows the emancipationist side, but also acknowledges that many Union men were just fighting to hold the nation together. We also see the effects of slavery as the soldiers run into an escaped slave. Sergeant Kilrain even gives a moving speech about equality and why ending slavery is so important.
You cannot judge a race. Any man who judges by the group is a peewit. You take men one at a time. But I don't think race or country matters a damn. What matters, Colonel, is justice. Which is why I'm here.
If the movie ended there, it might be alienating to Southern viewers, but it doesn't. The goal of this movie is to reconcile and give both sides a say. Let's look at the rest of the scene with Thomas Chamberlain while he talks to the Confederate prisoners and they say why they fought.
I don't know about some other folk, but I ain't fighting for no darkies one way or the other. I'm fighting for my rats. All of us here, that's what we're fighting for. Why is it you folks just can't live the way you want to live? And let us live the way we do. Live and let live, I heard some folks say.
He downplays slavery and says it was about states' rights and being left alone. The campfire scene goes into far more depth and has the Southern commanders laying out for the British officer Fremantle why they believe they are fighting.
You see, Colonel, the government derives its power from the consent of the people. Every government, everywhere. Well, let me make this very plain to you, sir. We do not consent, and we will never consent. What we're fighting for here is a freedom from what we consider to be the rule of a foreign power. Now, we established this country in the first place with very strong state governments just for that very reason. The damn money-grubbing Yankees. I mean, those damn fools, they don't get the message. Always the darkies. Nothing but the darkies.
The movie is saying that the Union can be trying to free slaves, while the South simultaneously is not considering slavery in their reasons for fighting. While all of these points can be debated, this isn't the point of the film. The point of the film is to give both sides a say, and then to bring them together. Look at General Armistead's story. At multiple points in the movie, he laments that former friends are torn apart by the war.
Back in California, we were all together for the last time. Before we broke up. Spring of '61. We were leaving the next day. Some going north, some going south.
He reminds viewers that they were once Americans on the same side, and that the war is a tragedy for splitting the nation. We aren't supposed to get bogged down in the reasons. We're supposed to acknowledge that this is brother against brother, friend against friend, American against American.
Win was like a brother to me. I took him by the shoulder. I said, Win, so help me. If I ever raise my hand against you, may God strike me dead.
The film wants to honor the bravery on both sides. It shows the quiet dignity and bravery of the men of Pickett's charge as they go off towards certain death. Sweeping camera angles and a booming score show the forlorn hope in that last fateful charge. General Buford and his cavalry are shown holding out against overwhelming force just to hold on to good ground while they wait for the bulk of the Union to arrive. We see the Battle of Little Round Top where the Union men, running low on ammo and facing mounting casualties, bravely decide to fix bayonets and attack instead of retreating and consolidating. The film spends most of the screen time showing the bravery of both sides and the battle itself. It wants to remember the men who fought and died, struggled against wounds, crude medical techniques, and disease, no matter which side they were on or what they believed. The film shows all 3 days of battle and focuses on how the military side went down, how it affected the generals and the men, how both sides fought, died, and sacrificed until the Union ultimately won at Cemetery Hill. The message is clear. There were heroes on both sides. It was a war of brother against brother, and we should honor the veterans and bravery of both the blue and the gray.
Being a good boy lost a young and promising life. Some were blue, some were gray.
It doesn't make a political statement about why each side fought and whether it was just or unjust. The film wants to show the battle, how it played out, and how the men on both sides are worth remembering. So did the film miss multiple chances to give slaves a voice or make an argument about the causes or consequences of the war? Maybe, but that isn't the goal of this movie. The goal was to heal the wounds of the country, and I think this film has such a legacy and resonates so much with so many people because it wants to bring us all together and bury the bad blood of the war. Gettysburg accomplishes that goal. It doesn't have every little drama, every little fight, every little event of the battle, but for an overview of all 3 days of battle portrayed by many dedicated reenactors and great performances by big-name actors, Gettysburg does all of this while trying to honor the men of both sides and heal the divide that seems to still exist between North and South. The film itself is a memorial to the men of the Civil War. If you want a film that shows how the battle went down, how it affected people, and to get a general idea of why we remember Gettysburg, then this film is something you have to watch. Just be warned though, it does have about a 4-hour runtime. If you enjoyed this review, leave a like or a comment because that lets me know what you want to see in the future. Subscribe for more historical content, and as always, stay excited about history. Thank you for watching.